Good morning, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, Chair, members of this committee. My name is Shane Stolarczyk, and I'm proud to serve as the Kendall County Judge. I've also served 10 years as a major in the United States Air Force, including an active duty tour during the COVID-19 pandemic, stationed at Joint Base San Antonio. Outside my judicial role, I'm a 24-year practicing appellate attorney and small business owner. Before I begin, I want to recognize and thank TDM, especially Chief Nimkid, Chief Darren Brinkader, and our CLO Scott Haynes for their crucial support during our recent flood disaster. Their ongoing communication, guidance were key to our emergency management team's ability to respond effectively and safely. Let me pose a simple but powerful question to this committee. Proper planning or dumb luck? If your life depended on it, which would you choose? Disasters always carry an element of unpredictability. We were fortunate this time. The USGS flood gauge data reflected a 50-year flood event for the Comfort community, not a 100-year, not a 500-year event. Even more luckily,
Sir, can you pull that right up there? The stream requires you almost to eat that mic.
Sorry, sir.
You can't get too close.
How's that better?
There,
Okay. Even more luckily, Cypress Creek and Comfort did not flood. But make no mistake, it was proper planning, not luck, that formed the backbone of our response. Our philosophy in Kendall County is simple: prepare for the worst every time. That philosophy guided the creation and implementation of our Emergency Action Plan, our EAP. This is not just a binder gathering dust, it's a living document, tested, updated, and actively used by our coordinated emergency team. Our EAP was recently used in response to the Texas eclipse events last year and proved vital again during this flood. Our success depended on trusted collaboration between our emergency personnel, engineers, volunteers, and regional partners. From shelter coordination and road closures to public alerts, we operated as one team with one mission: protect lives and property. I share this today not to say we have all the answers, but to stress that the importance of investing in emergency preparedness before the disaster strikes. The timeline of our flood response shows our proactiveness prior to the floodwaters reaching our community. Our vigilance of the weather began on July 3rd, 2025. At 8:37 a.m., CLO Scott Haynes contacted our emergency management coordinator, Brady Constantine, and advised him to be vigilant and stay alert for heavy rain over the area in the late evening and early morning hours. Haynes specifically advised Constantine to take note of RV parks and campgrounds along the river. At 10 a.m. on July 3rd, EMC Brady Constantine attended a State Operations Center weather call advisory of the potential weather. At 10:25 a.m., EMC Constantine responded by emailing all our volunteer fire chiefs, our EMS administrator, the Kendall County Sheriff Patrol Sergeant on call, and our Precinct 4 Commissioner, reminding them to be vigilant and on alert for potential flooding in the Comfort area. At 1:18 p.m. on July 3rd, the National Weather Service issued a flood watch advising of potential local heavy rainfall and flooding. At 6 p.m., we started sharing Facebook weather updates and currently monitoring the incoming storms. At 11:41 p.m., the National Weather Service escalated the situation to a flash flood warning. By midnight, EMC Constantine continued to actively monitor weather reports and river gauges in Comfort, coordinating closely with our sheriff's deputies. This continued throughout the night and into the early hours of July 4th because EMC Constantine, I quote, had an uneasy feeling that night about the pending weather conditions. At 1:14 a.m., flash flood warning with a considerable tag was issued for Bandera and Kerr counties. EMC Constantine initiated the activation of our Emergency Operations Center for Kendall County at 4 a.m. and started making phone calls to the pertinent EOC team members. At 4:03 a.m., flash flood warning was upgraded to a flash flood emergency for South Central Kerr County, including Hunt. At 4:32 a.m., the National Weather Service reported 5 to 10 inches of rainfall had fallen across South Central Kerr County over the past 3 to 6 hours. A particularly dangerous situation was declared and a flash flood emergency issued. At 5:29 a.m., our phone alert system, known as WENS, Wireless Emergency Notification System, issued our first flood warning for Kendall County. At 6:21 a.m., Kendall County began notifying river residents that the situation along the Guadalupe River was a concern. At 6:37 a.m., the EOC was fully activated. Reports of devastation in Kerr County began arriving, including flooding at camps and rising water levels. The 20-foot flood wave took about 90 minutes to move downstream toward Kendall County. Thanks to Comfort ISD, we opened a temporary shelter on campus. At 7 a.m., WENS issued a notification that flooding on the Guadalupe is happening in Kerr County. The Kendall County EOC is being activated. Up to a 32-foot rise in the Guadalupe River is expected. By 7:30 a.m., mandatory evacuations were issued for residents along the Guadalupe River in Comfort, Texas. At 8:06 a.m., EMC Constantine pushed out the following WENS message: urgent flood alert. Comfort residents along the river moved to high ground immediately. Mandatory evacuation. Evacuations were occurring along the river. Road and bridge crews began closing impacted roads and bridges. Comfort Volunteer Fire Department began evacuating vehicles on bridges and cleared out the Comfort RV Resort. Multiple rescue boats were staged at Comfort High School. At 8:44 a.m., high-level floodwaters officially approached Kendall County. At 10:52 a.m., as water began rising too fast to ensure safe evacuation, Assistant Comfort Volunteer Fire Chief Danny Morales, in coordination with Constantine and our EOC, activated the siren warning system for the Comfort area to warn citizens of the impending flood danger. WENS alerts continued from 11:01 a.m. until 11:05 a.m., stating, urgent flood alert warning. Residents along the river seek higher ground immediately. A flash flood warning has been issued for Kendall County, 11:05 a.m. Thanks to the rapid, coordinated action, no lives were lost in Kendall County, though we did suffer private property damage along the Guadalupe River. What has Kendall County done to plan, mitigate, and respond? First, we've strengthened our floodplain rules. For example, no RV or manufactured home communities are allowed in the floodplain areas. New construction must be elevated 1 foot above base flood elevation and anchored per hydraulic standards. 2, we invested into a feasibility study for Cypress Creek, investing over $175,000. This is located upstream in Kerr County to help protect our downstream Comfort community. We pursued a countywide drainage master plan to proactively address flood risks across the region. We created a full-time grant coordinator position in the county to identify and apply for grants, including flood mitigation funding. We expanded our ICS and FEMA-based training, focusing more on tabletop exercises and preparation efforts. We implemented the WENS Emergency Alert System, which is an affordable, highly effective emergency communication tool used to notify citizens. We allocated $1.5 million in ARPA funds for culvert improvements throughout the city of Boerne. We also partnered with the soil and water conservation districts in our community to improve flood control structures in the county. And lastly, we passed a bond proposition for $20 million. This bond is known as Prop A. It's to purchase conservation easements and green space, protecting waterways and limiting certain harmful types of development in those areas. Recommendations to improve the state and local response capabilities. Let me first emphasize, TDM performed admirably from Kendall County's perspective. Our CLO, Scott Haynes, was embedded within our EOC from day one. His leadership maintained consistent contact and support with us. We are deeply grateful. That said, here are a few recommendations based on our experience. Improve access to the IPAWS system, the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. It's currently too limited in access and not user-friendly. WENS and IPAWS can work together, but local officials need better access to both tools. Develop a river-wide emergency alert system, one that tracks the entire Guadalupe River and its tributaries, offering early downstream warnings across jurisdictions. 3, simplify the grant application process for small counties. Avoid requiring costly engineering studies just to apply. These costs deter small counties from even seeking funding. 4, create a COG-wide emergency operations plan to streamline regional coordination and improve response across the Council of Government areas. In closing, our experience in Kendall County is a testament to what preparation, communication, and teamwork can achieve. We didn't have it perfect, but we had a plan, practiced it, and executed it with urgency and coordination. I urge the committee to continue investing in local preparedness, strengthen interagency tools, and ensure small counties have equitable access to resources. Thank you for your time and commitment to protecting Texans.
Thank you. Judge Rubio, get the mic up real close, please. There you go.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning, chairs and members of the committee. My name is Bella A. Rubio, and I'm the county judge of Riau County, which is a contiguous county to Kerr County, with a population of approximately 3,000 people. First and foremost, Kerr County, you are in our daily thoughts and prayers, and to all law enforcement, first responders, volunteers, and citizens, you are the epitome of John 15:13. There's no greater love than to lay down one's life for another. Today I come before you regarding decisions that will be focusing on matters that directly impact the safety and well-being of all our counties and communities throughout Texas, and the need for dependable alert systems. The ability to quickly and effectively share information during emergencies is essential, ensuring that every resident and/or visitor, regardless of their location or situation, receives critical information. As a native pioneer family and a 40-year county employee, I have witnessed firsthand Riau County transform from a ranching hunting community into a tourism-based, popular second homeowner site, as well as a subdivision developer attraction, with the majority of the growth occurring along the banks of the Frio and Nueces River. We also have 3 Christian camps located on both rivers that at full capacity on any given weekday throughout the summer service approximately 3,000 campers, camp counselors. Growing up a quarter of a mile from the Frio River and currently residing on the Frio River for the past 42 years, I have experienced river creek rises in all different sizes, some that have come just like a thief in the night. Witnessed helicopter rescue, people from rooftops and trees, and had my late husband participate in high water rescues throughout his 37-year employment with TxDOT. As part of Riau County Courthouse budget preparation in my previous position as county clerk, I have seen the struggle and challenge to fund additional resources to provide and/or implement higher safety levels throughout the local law enforcement budget, road and bridge budget, extra funding for local volunteer fire departments and volunteer EMS, and especially the radio inoperability. While Riau County was not catastrophically impacted by the July 4th and July 11th floods as our neighbor Kerr County was, we are still faced with the challenge of alerting the lodging industry, homeowners, and Christian camps at full capacity located along the Frio and Nueces rivers, especially during our peak visitor season. Riau County is 700 square miles, experiencing 2 major floods within a 10-day period, stretched our resources thin, which consist of our sheriff, 6 full-time deputies, 2 volunteer fire departments with 10 or less personnel each, county road and bridge department consisting of 7 employees to cover approximately 75 low water crossings located on creeks and portions of the Frio and Nueces, on various county roads, and a local TxDOT maintenance section with 11 employees to secure approximately 150 TxDOT crossings, culverts, and low spots on state roads prone to flooding as well. While our sheriff currently utilizes an app system that local residents and/or visitors can utilize to receive notifications, the system does not work in all the areas of the county due to minimal and/or zero cell phone service, nor during power outages, which occur frequently during severe weather. While all the entities do their best to collaborate in quarterly meetings and work collectively, it is extremely challenging to assure the safety and welfare of all visitors and residents during natural disasters. As the torrential rains fell in the early morning hours of July 11th, Riau County Sheriff deputies began stationing themselves, as well as our road and bridge department, at as many crossings as possible, beginning at 2 a.m., hoping to deter traffic attempting to drive through crossings where flooding was commencing. Effective implementation of alert systems in our rural and underserved areas present unique challenges such as limited access to broadband internet and mobile networks, along with financial constraints and lack of awareness, which can and does hinder the dissemination of critical information to those most at risk. Having an effective alert system, whether through mobile apps, sirens, monitors, or all of the above, can effectively save lives, as timely alerts can provide that vital information such as evacuation routes, shelter locations, and safety protocols, enabling individuals to take immediate action and potentially save lives. Minimum damage is it can allow individuals and business to take steps to mitigate potential damage to property and infrastructure. Enhance emergency responses. Real-time alerts and instructions allow first responders to quickly access situations, allocate resources, and coordinate their efforts more effectively, improving response times and efficiency. For counties to be able to promote preparedness through reliable alert systems that would foster a culture of preparedness, empowering individuals to be more aware of risk and take proactive steps to protect themselves and their family, funding assistance must occur. Counties should not be faced with the funding of alert systems through local property taxes, which is basically our only source of income, which have been capped throughout the years and or reduced through property tax relief. While there may be possible grants geared towards purchase of alert systems, there are none that I am aware of for the maintenance and operation of these systems, much less the replacement when destroyed either by natural disasters or types of accidents and or vandalism. In closing, I would add that I understand there's never a perfect solution nor a fail-proof system. However, timely alerts should not have to be considered a luxury, but a fundamental necessity, especially for our most vulnerable population. I thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Real County. I've attached some maps that reflect the the Frio and the Nueces River and the over 50 tributaries, such as creeks that feed into the Frio and impact it, and the Nueces as well, and impact both rivers during flooding. I know that we as Texans are stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Members, as a reminder before we start questioning, if you have a question, just raise your hand so we can write you down. I got you. And to our panel, since there's 8 of you, some of you may be better prepared to answer a question. Just for record keeping and for those watching on the live feed, please state your name and who you represent before speaking into the mic, and pull the mic up as close as you can as well. Chair recognizes Representative Lauterbach.
Thank the panel for their service. Sheriff Letha, could you take a minute and give us a timeline on the events of that morning?
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative. Yes, there's been a lot of question about time, especially from the media. I'd like to go over, this is the Kirk County Sheriff's Office, okay, what we did during this time. And what I'm going to focus on is from 1:14 a.m. to 5:01. That's kind of the primary time. Now, please understand, I call this a snapshot of what we did. What we've done in about 28 days usually would take about 6 months. And we have a lot of data to look into, recordings, radio transactions, but we've done the best we can to get what we can for today for y'all. So what I'm going to start with is what I call the dispatch workload between 1:14 and 3:30 a.m. That's 2 hours and 16 minutes. Our communications center had 7 phone calls received and processed 22 radio transmissions. Then we moved forward to 3:31 a.m. to 4:22 a.m. in that next 51-minute period. They had 50 phone calls for service and rescue, 114 processed radio transmissions. They were very busy at that time. You have to remember there was a team of 2 in there. Okay. In that time, starting at 1:14 a.m., NWS issues flash flood warning to Kirk County, released on code red. 1 to 2 inches of rain has fallen, anticipating 1 to 2 inches per hour, an additional 2 to 3 inches possible. 2:08, a caller calls in inquiring about road conditions and if they're clear. 2:53, 911 call from River Inn. Water coming over the river break. They advised the inn visitors of flooding, no evacuation. So that's not normal for us, okay? A lot of times when rain comes, it goes up. That's normal for our area. 3:27 a.m., Mountain Home Volunteer Fire Department reports Shoemaker Crossing is not passable. That's a little bit more of an alert, but not abnormal. Okay, we move to 3:30 a.m. It's different. Dispatch receives a call from a family on a roof requesting air evacuation. Now that's what I consider it's all hands on deck starting at 3:30 a.m. 3:35, dispatch tones out Hunt Volunteer Fire Department to swift water rescue. 3:39, Mountain Home Volunteer Fire Department asks KCSO to tone out Ingram Volunteer Fire Department for evacuation at River RV Park. 3:41, KCSO Deputy Green confirms Shoemaker Crossing is not passable. 3:43 a.m., KCSO tones out Kerr County Special Ops for swift water rescue. 3:46, dispatch receives calls with a caller, 2 young children with water overtaking the home, which that was a 24-minute phone call. Our dispatcher did a great job during that phone call. Not only was she on the phone at the time with those 2 children, she was on the phone, had them on speakerphone, on an additional phone, also doing radio transmission and typing. I said she did an amazing job. 3:50 a.m., calls from Casa Bonita advising community is flooding. Dispatch advises seeker higher ground. 3:52, Ingram Volunteer Fire Department goes into service. 3:57 a.m., calls from Camp Mystic, stranded on hill seeking evacuation. 4:05 a.m., multiple reports of cabins off Casa Bonita flooding. 4:08, KCSO tones out Mountain Home to Casa Bonita for water rescue. 4:11, KCSO Sergeant Merritt is landlocked, must abandon his cruiser and begin evacuating nearby residents. So what he did is he got trapped, but he got out of his vehicle and continued to notify people of what's going on. Also provided first aid to one lady in that time. He was kind of out of the game at that point, so we lost kind of. He was actually trying to get a hold of another deputy. I had another female sergeant that was getting ready. That female sergeant lost her vehicle, her department, her office Tahoe, and she was underwater and could barely breathe for 45 minutes. 4:15, KCSO Corporal Tejeda arrives at Highway 39 and barricades the highway. Okay, now we're going to move to 4:22 to 5:01. This is a 39-minute period. During that 39-minute period, our dispatch workload was 19 calls of service and rescue, 168 radio transmissions. Still very busy for 2 people. 4:22 a.m., Hunt Volunteer Fire Department seeks code red alert. KCSO dispatch acknowledges. 4:23, KCSO Sergeant approves code red alert. 4:24, KCSO Deputy McGee reports he hears kids screaming in the river. 4:28, dispatch calls TxDOT for barricades. 4:30 a.m., TxDOT calls dispatch asking for information on what is happening in reference to the flooding. Okay, please pay attention to 4:32. NWS calls KCSO asking if the roads are closed and if it's flooding. 4:35, KCSO tones out Ingram Volunteer Fire Department. Children trapped in water below Howdy's Park. 4:38, Deputy Green dispatched to Roland Lane to assist with children trapped in the water. 4:42, KCSO Corporal Tejeda advises people are on the roof in Hunt. Dispatchers advising callers to seek higher ground. 4:34, KCSO Corporal Tejeda seeks helicopters evacuation for Hunt. 4:46 a.m., ETA for swift water rescue boat, he's told 10 minutes. Deputy Green says these kids don't have 10 minutes. 4:47 a.m., KCSO dispatch receives calls. Camp La Junta building collapses, seeking water rescue. 5:01, KCSO issues code red alert. From there on, we just continue to be busy, but that's kind of the bulk of the events between that time.
Thank you.
Senator Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I don't know that words can describe what I witnessed when Lieutenant Governor and I first came on that day. But I think it's incumbent for people to know, those that are listening locally, statewide, nationally, just what type of calamity you experienced in a short period of time that was unprecedented. A monster in the middle of the night that we've never seen before. And how this community, you all, that I personally witnessed, responded with the resources you had to that calamitous event. And I want people to know what I saw. You, Sheriff, Judge, Mayor. You guys didn't sleep. I saw that. You're totally committed. And not only that, I witnessed the local first responders, like they, in a true Texas fashion, that were the first ones there, not knowing what monster they were facing either, just knowing that their fellow Texans in Kirk County were in trouble. Then I got to witness your cooperation and work as you started to organize quickly with TDEM, state resources. We're blessed with Chief Nim Kidd and the preparation that he has in his department. And working together in emergency management with our troopers and our game wardens and Task Force 1, which were close by, but always ready and prepared, working with their local communities. So I wanted to take this moment to thank you all and let people know you saw things that you'll never unsee, and you have experiences you wish you never had. But we'll take this opportunity in this hearing to know that the monster will be back in one form or fashion in this state, and that this committee will learn from you and the people that are going to testify as to what you learned from it and how you believe that we should prepare to help you respond to the monster when it comes back again. So thank you very much for that, for your input, your knowledge, your preparedness. Would you say that the top three things I'm hearing so far, that communications is extremely important and something that we can improve on? Sheriff, would you say that was the truth?
100%, I do. Like I said, we had a lot of support came here. We are in the middle or towards the end of a $7.2 million radio infrastructural upgrade, which the radio did work. One of the issues was it did take a few days to get everybody on that. I kind of call that a software issue, had to get everybody programmed. But we know we did get it done, but also I still have concerns to the west part of our county about having some radio reception in that area. Yes, so yes, sir.
Conversely, that also ties, would you agree that also ties into communications would be our ability and technology and cell phone availability, especially in the Upper Guadalupe and in other remote areas of the state?
Yeah, that is a huge issue. What I'd like to share with y'all, I believe it was in about day 2, I got one of the AT&T representatives and said, hey, I need to speak to somebody, up there. And by God, the next day they were down here. I got to take my hat off to them, and they secured a tower in Hunt, Texas. And within 48 hours, they had another tower out that way up and going. Now, I haven't been able to check it. We have a very large county to the west, but but phone reception is very critical. As you know, our Code Red system, that's one of the things it's based off of, is reception. You know, the Code Red you'll hear a lot about is that not only one, you have to take it to yourself to sign up for it, and then you got to make sure the alerts are on, and then you got to make sure you have reception. There's a lot to that, sir.
And would you agree also that what I'm hearing is that emergency management coordination, while Texas is some of the best in the world, we can continue to improve that from the local, state, and national level to make it more seamless. Would you say that's another thing that came out of this?
Yes, sir, 100%.
And of course, the third thing I'm hearing is warning systems. Of integrated warning systems, but just a warning system that we believe is functional, can be applied statewide, so warning systems, whether that be sirens, whether that be improvements on how the message gets out to the community for that there's an impending flood, an attack, whatever, tornado, that warning systems is another prong that we need to work on and improve.
Yes, sir. I think that's very important. I've already had some talks with the courts. I think we really need to look in that and take it serious. And I wish we could have something by next year, but I know this is a very slow and expensive process. But yes, sir.
And while you mentioned expensive, of course, there's the other component that it goes with all of this, and that's the funding of it.
Exactly. It is very expensive.
We work together to be able to do it. Thank you all for what you did. I'll always be indebted to you and be honored working with all of you and for this community and for our state, and we look forward to some positive results. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Representative Verdell.
Thank you, Chairman King. Couple questions. First, I just want to start off with Kerr County, and Judge Rubio, it's good to see you this morning too. For the Kerr County officials, I wanted to commend y'all on July 4th, how quickly y'all came together as a unified entity to work, especially with TDM and all the other agencies that came in. That was just, I know it was a tragedy, but it was impressive to watch how quickly y'all responded and worked together. Also, I know that they're not on the invited testimony list, but I wanted to give some credit to the others that also helped in that, which was your county commissioners. I know you had Commissioner Jeff Holt and Commissioner Rich Paces on the river actively that morning looking for those that were hopefully still alive on the river, and they did manage to find some. And then you had both your two other commissioners, County Commissioner Don Harris and County Commissioner Tom Jones, that were here actively in the EOC helping with communication. I also want to mention, y'all mentioned this, your volunteer fire departments, they were extremely critical in the rescue and information gathering and everything. So we're incredibly grateful for what those fire departments did with y'all. I hope that they publicly get the credit that they deserve also. And then also, just real quick on the list is your churches, your local schools and the school leaders, local businesses, your law enforcement officers did an amazing job. My brother is a cop here in Kerrville, and I got to watch firsthand what they did, so we're grateful for them. I do have a couple questions, and Dr. Rector, if you don't mind me, Dr. Wright, did I get that right? So you had mentioned diversion dams. I think you also possibly mentioned Charlie Hastings. I'm assuming you might have been talking about him a while ago and the diversion dam. Can you give us some more information on my understanding is we don't have any diversion dams upstream at the moment, and you do believe that those would be critical infrastructure that could help slow down the amount of water coming down the river, so you have more time to react to get people out of harm's way. Would that be correct?
Yes, sir. That is absolutely correct. That's the other part of flood warning, and that's mitigation, and that would. I've read several white papers recently that I'm sure you've also read, that a flood warning system probably would not have saved Camp Mystic, Heart of the Hills camp. The water was just moving too fast. It was moving 17 miles an hour, and it started only 7 miles from Camp Mystic. There was just no time for a warning system. Flood mitigation is the answer to flash floods that we've experienced over and over and over again in Kerr County.
Yes, sir. How many I know this is hard to even calculate. Do y'all have, how many tributaries and feeder creeks do you think that y'all would have to interact with upstream of that?
Bring the microphone up.
Is this
Sorry,
better?
You got to get it right on top.
Okay, thank you very
Can't
much.
talk loud enough.
I believe we have three main areas. Of course, the South Fork, which was terribly impacted this time, the North Fork of the Guadalupe, and Johnson Creek. Those three tributaries are important to consider.
Yes, sir. One of the things I want to mention, I watched an interview with Mark Armstrong. Many of y'all know Mark Armstrong, who owns the Lake Store. And anyways, he had mentioned that he's been staring at that river every day for 34, 37 years, I think it was, and that there are three kind of stage levels that everybody is aware of. And he said that on this one, it was unprecedented how quickly it rose and how quickly it got above even the highest stage that they had ever expected. And I think that it's important to point out that people upstream that have lived on the river have seen this for, decades, and not, I think it's safe to say there's no way we could have predicted the amount of flooding that was going to happen in that time. And I know outside of Kerr County, a lot of people have been trying to point fingers and blame and everything else. But I think it's important to note that the locals here who know this area better than anyone else in Texas aren't pointing fingers, and they know that this was an unprecedented flood of a magnitude that nobody had expected before. So I just want to make sure that was pointed out to you. But thank y'all for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I think we are all committed, everybody on this committee, our Lieutenant Governor and our Speaker, are committed to fully understand why the loss of life associated with this flood and how we can set plans in place to hopefully prevent such a tragedy. Thank you for your testimony. When Vice Chair Flores and I came down and flew over and looked at the devastation, it's just almost indescribable how something that wasn't really dangerous when we were looking at it caused such destruction just a day or so earlier. Sheriff, I wanted to ask you, the judge talked about one of the deputies became landlocked. Why was that? He was trapped almost on a low crossing in front of him, and there was no way out.
Okay, let me give you a good explanation on that. So that deputy's the one I said happens to live out there in Hunt, Texas. Okay, he was headed out there to check on the road. So he got to what they call Schumacher Crossing. It's flooded. Him and Deputy Green were there. Deputy Green turns around and leaves a little before him. So he's about a mile ahead of Sergeant Merritt. Sergeant Merritt turns around to come back, and what happened is a low-lying area about 2 miles that they'd already crossed had already came up, and he couldn't get out. Deputy Green made it through. His vehicle stalled, but he made it. So Sergeant Merritt stopped, and he knew he couldn't make it, so that's when he turned up, and he went up 1132 Highway 1132 Highway 39, went up there, and as he got up there, his truck got stuck, and that's when he abandoned his vehicle and just started notifying people. So he actually got trapped in between the low water crossings. Our deputies, especially our veteran deputies, kind of know those low-lying areas really well, and you got to be careful. Once you're shut down at Schumacher Crossing, we're done. We can't get to Hunt unless it's in some type of aircraft.
Thank you. To that point, those areas have flooded before, or there were low water crossings.
Yes, ma'am.
So would a bridge over some low water crossings be good to have so that people aren't, one, that they're not landlocked, that they're not locked in anywhere?
Yes, it would be, yes.
But we don't have that. But that would be something when you're looking at what we can do in the future, provide a bridge over low water crossings.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Okay. Let's see, communications. Senator Flores and I came down. It seemed as though you were having to bat down rumors all the time.
Correct.
I'm not sure how that can be stopped in the future, but we appreciated your accurate reporting, and I just really don't know how to stop the rumor mill, but that causes so much trauma on families. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, I think today is a big help. I've been kind of waiting for this to get it out here, and get the word out. And I know we talked about, I believe one of you all about the valley and the channel. I worked down a lot when I was there with DPS. I truly think we need some kind of system someday where we can go to, say, channel 14 and it works everywhere. I think that would really help. But I think today is a really big part to get the message out there, what exactly happened to the public, especially the media, and maybe we can clean it up.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And we've talked a lot about communication, not just this hearing today, heard from you, but the previous hearing that we had. Problems with interoperability, communication. What about reception for the towers, or is there anything, is there fiber that is run to different places that normally, or you found in this flood, did not have reception? People couldn't use their cell phones.
Oh yeah, on the phone side, yes. We have a lot of problem out to the west. We have
And
a lot of
what would
diggers.
remedy that?
Additional towers, and that's what AT&T went in there and did. They put us additional tower in Hunt. I don't know how that far that's going to go to the west towards Mountain Home, but that's a fix, is additional towers, which is very expensive, but that's what would be the
But
fix.
fiber hasn't been run to all the areas, right?
Correct.
Because that's hard to do
Very hard
in the hill
in that
country.
terrain.
And I'm not sure if anybody on the panel has the answer for this, but is there something we can do proactive? Hill country is beautiful and it's on rock, a lot of rock. So water will hit and run off. There's not as much ground for absorption of water. Is there anything that, the ag department or anybody can recommend that we do proactive in our land management to help prevent such, downstream, just so much water at one time?
I wish I had that answer. I can tell you, being out there a lot, it's just a limestone. You know what I mean? Solid.
So we could task that to our ag agency to take a look and see what we could do for flood management regarding the water runoff.
Yes, ma'am, Senator.
Thank you for that. Judge Kelly, want to ask, what is the emergency service that you have? I've heard volunteer. Do you have an ESD or county paid facility?
We do have ESDs. I think we have 4. Isn't that right, Doug? Yes, 4. And they basically sponsor a VFD, a volunteer
I'm
fire.
sorry, they what?
They support a volunteer fire department.
Okay. So the ESD, is it primarily medical, or do they have additional fires?
We do not have medical.
You do not have what?
We do not have medical.
The county doesn't have medical service?
Not at
Did
the
I hear
VFDs,
that
no.
right?
Not at VFDs, no.
But you have an ambulance service?
Well, the city does, and we contract with the city.
You contract, okay, so the county doesn't have ambulance, but the city, Kerrville, does have ambulance service that you contract with?
Yes.
How many ambulances?
We operate about 4 ambulances, and we'll have a peak. We do have 8 if we need them.
1 second. Before you jump into a question, please just say your name
yes, sir.
and who you represent.
Dalton Rice, City Manager of Kerrville.
Now go.
We have 4 ambulances that we operate around the clock, and then we'll have peak ambulances as needed, and then when we need additional staff to come in, we have 2 or 3 reserves that we could use.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rector. Upper Guadalupe River Authority was established when? 1939?
Yes, ma'am.
And you govern, or you look out for the Guadalupe in one county.
That's correct.
So you have one job, and that's to manage the river for one county.
That's correct.
No warning systems except one down on Cypress Creek?
We are not involved with warning systems. We are
That was the
data collection.
Okay. Why should you continue to operate independently? Why not put the Upper Guadalupe River Authority with the Guadalupe Blanco River Authority?
We have a different river than than is downstream.
It's not the same Guadalupe River?
We are providing the water for downstream. We are funded strictly by ad valorem taxes, whereas Guadalupe Blanco has water production, sewer services that they are able to sell as production. We do not have that income. So if we were merged with them, you would be asking people downstream to support us in Kirk County.
I would, obviously, I haven't looked in detail at that at all, but I would think that the River Authority, Guadalupe Blanco, is pretty big, and I would think that they could work with Kirk County to see how they could help Kirk County as one river authority.
We work with them. We have some of our board members actually on some of their boards, so we are cooperating with them.
Thank you, Dr. Rector. I'm just, in my mind, I'm thinking that it's a county river authority, I mean, it's a river authority that is managed for one county only, and I'm not sure that there weren't things that could have been done over the years, since 1939, that possibly could have helped. That needs to, I think we're committed on looking at that. And I think one thing that we don't take off the table is if the Upper Guadalupe River Authority could be absorbed by Guadalupe Blanco River Authority. I could be wrong, but I think it's something we need to look at. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Colonel Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And also, Mr. Chairman, please be advised I'm hearing from constituents outside monitoring that out in the ether they can hear you and everybody else here loud and clear. Thank you so much for being here today and testifying. Sheriff, could you expand your radio network that you have, that all radios now are software, but could you expand what system that is?
Yes, it's a Motorola Gator system, a trunking system, sir.
Okay. And you mentioned that y'all have invested significantly in communications and so forth. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, sir. It's $7.2 million for the system.
Over what period of time?
Over the last 2 years.
Over the last 2 years.
Yes, sir.
And there was, what was the, when you were trying to determine what system to go with, what were the parameters that you were considering on which system to buy? Because I know there's a lot of systems out there.
Yeah, basically it was down to the Motorola system or LCRA system. For my experience and knowledge, you know, the LCR system is kind of built more for flat area, which, you know, we have 1,100 square miles here of a lot of different terrain, and we have like 4 towers here that we use, and if we were to go to LCRA system, it'd be up to maybe needing 10 towers. I know those towers are very expensive. So what we did, we basically upgraded the system we had in place and bought new hardware, all new radios for all our units, handheld and portable radios.
I appreciate that. About how many units of radios did you have?
Oh, sir, we not only did we do us, and I took this project, it's not just a sheriff's office. One thing I want to make clear, this is a Kirk County project. We also brought in our volunteer fire departments too, and brought in, I want to say that maybe the radios was about $3.5 million, but don't hold me to that. It was very expensive.
I got you. And did you have a pool of radios so that when you do accept other support from, be it federal or state or volunteers from a sister county or something like that, additional radios to expand those out if you needed to expand your network?
We have some radios like we did. We handed out during the flood, but we only have so many of those.
Right. And so at the end of the day, when on the communications line, when you were gaining all this additional help and support, would you say that you could have used a lot more radios?
Oh, yes, sir, definitely. You can't ever have enough radios.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And if we had to look at this holistically, is something that you feel that the state could have prepackaged, pre-softwared, if you will, for interoperability purpose to deliver if needed for a mass cow or a situation such as this?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir.
What do you think that would look like exactly?
Well,
Because you don't have just floods, you got to worry about fires too, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yes, sir.
those
Yes,
are
sir.
also-
That season will be coming up soon. But yes, I mean, to me, it would take additional towers here. I mean, right now, I feel very comfortable with what we have, but you know, new towers, more radios would always help. From my understanding, you know, there's really nothing that can tell you what system to get. You know what I mean? I have fellow sheriff's offices and counties next to me that are on different systems than I do, but we do have the capability to talk. But then there's Bandera County that's on a different system that we're not able to talk to.
And so when you were looking to purchase that system, there wasn't anything out there that basically said, hey, to be interoperable, in order to be able to connect with others, if you had to go and support somewhere else in the state of Texas, which I know our counties do, especially in the rural, or vice versa, there wasn't anything there that basically provided some sort of, I wouldn't say guideline, but recommendations in terms of capability that's out there that you may need to consider when purchasing.
No, there is. We did. It's called a dual band radio, and that's what we went to. We can use it on both our system and the LCRA system. Those radios are very expensive, between the tune of $11,000 to $12,000. So you just think, you know, I want to say we bought a couple hundred of them, maybe between us and the fire department. So kind of do the math. It's very expensive to do. We were just very fortunate to have the funds to be able to do it, because had we not had those funds, we'd be on the same system we were before this.
No, I appreciate that, and I just want to make sure I understood correctly, or I'm relaying the question correctly here, is that when you or other counties are going out there considering purchases, if you will, and you know that you want to be interoperable, because in the case of emergency, whether you're going to support somebody else or vice versa, that it would be helpful or would not be helpful if there was a larger document that helped articulate and made recommendation in terms of not necessarily brand but capability in considering what you buy. Would that be helpful?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry I didn't understand the question. Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Okay,
Yes,
I appreciate that. And just can you, so we can live the pain that you went through, can you give us some example of what you went through in terms of the software interoperability issue that you had that
Sure.
you briefly mentioned?
Sure. Like, you know, when you got here, like I know we had state assets here. You get here pretty quick. DPS and Gang Warren was mainly the ones, and basically they needed to get their radios reprogrammed, and that took up to a couple of days to get that done. So that's the main difference we had.
Get them programmed.
Yes, yeah, just get them reprogrammed. So the ability was there. They just need to be reprogrammed. You got to remember, they came from all over the state of Texas. I mean, TDM. So you know, they just didn't have our radios, our channels.
And did the state or anybody provide an IT specialist to help you, or you had to take time from your recovery operations and so forth like that, trying to get everybody on the same network?
No, actually DPS sent their radio tech in here, and Texas Parks and Wildlife sent they did their own radios here on site.
That's great. That's great. All right, thank you. And I noted that you had mentioned the volunteer fire departments. How many volunteer fire departments do y'all have in Carroll County? I'm sorry. Questions to sheriff or the judge, either.
Sir, we have.
Or emergency management. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have 7, sir.
All right. You might want to state your name again. So
I'm sorry, William Thomas.
No, thank you. 7 of them, and in the comments there, you know, and I'm just taking a quote from here. Few have specialized swiftwater training or gear. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, just like my deputies, you know, I'd like to have them trained. They do so many different things, but, you know, swiftwater rescue is just something, you know, actually we were looking into that, and, you know, we don't have the area here to train. You know, we've kind of made some calls to New Braunfels and visit with them, but, you know, that's just not something we have here to train with. And you know, we're going to look at that, just like we don't have the the proper equipment for that. That's not something we do on a day-to-day basis, and not trying to make an excuse here. Those are things I need to look in. Maybe we need to have some additional assets in our vehicles to be able to help with. I know my guys were using whatever water hose, whatever they could at the time, but that is something definitely we need to look into in the future. And the same thing with the volunteer fire departments, you know what I mean? You know, those are volunteers, non-paid volunteers that, you know, also work full-time jobs that need to be able to help. So, and that training's very expensive. You know, they have certain limits, and, you know, the ESDs are way more fortunate than ones that are not ESDs.
Very expensive, but y'all have unlimited resources to make sure that we get all the training needed for our volunteers, right?
We'd be in great shape.
You know, this is a reoccurring thing that we hear when you look to the Panhandle fires. One of the pieces that they pointed out over and over and over again is our volunteer fire departments are very poorly resourced, and that the training is hard to get or be able to pay for that and so forth. Do you think that if we resourced both training and equipment, that your recruitment of volunteers, because I understand that there is a statewide decline in terms of the number of folks who are actually starting to volunteer out there?
Yes.
That's an accurate statement, probably here too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you think that would help
Tremendously.
recruitment and so forth if we were provided for that?
Yeah, tremendously. On top of that, I always use, you know, COVID ruined us. I mean, as a sheriff and oversee a budget, I mean, it's just a shame. Not that the trainings went up, but your equipment, some of my stuff's doubled and tripled. I mean, you know, it's just horrible. But so, you know, they don't have the resources that was made available. I absolutely think that would help on the recruiting.
But yet, out of all the help that you received, these folks happen to live here and understand where the danger points are.
Absolutely.
And so, but yet the ones who know best are the ones who's probably least resourced. And I think, Chairman King, with your work that you've done and others within the Senate to focus on that area, I would hope that this report would continue to go that direction and reinforcing that is a significant advantage to emergency response when our volunteers that are organized volunteers are resourced and they're trained. If I could, to the judges, appreciate your service. I understand you major in the Air Force, and so you probably had an opportunity to plan in uniform and now plan as a judge in emergency management and so forth like that. And of course, you'd probably say plans are great, but unless they're rehearsed, well, the enemy has a vote, don't they? So,
Yes, sir.
On your planning piece, and this is to both of our judges, please, and just a reminder, just state your name when you respond. How often do y'all get together in your counties to actually plan and rehearse?
Shane Stolarczyk, Kendall County Judge. Well, I'm a fairly new judge. I took office in January 1st, 2023, and our emergency management coordinator started around that same time as well. So we've been in office a short time, and so we have begun to focus on emergency management together. And so we took advantage of the 2 eclipse events to start using those as rehearsals for more major events, because a lot of the same players are involved for whether it's a flood, fire, snow disaster. All those same players are involved with a flood as well. And so we use those to practice. We also did a tabletop. So right now we have no set schedule for when we're doing training. We haven't done our after action report yet for this event, but we've already made highlights of establishing a more recurrent schedule for these trainings and broadening who's involved, because there's some lessons learned about what key players we need to be involved in our events that we didn't bring in until later. Just, you know, when you're dealing with a situation, sometimes you're focused on the fire in front of you, and you need to, once you have a little time to sit back, you think back, oh, I should have included X, Y, and Z as well. And so I think getting on a set schedule for rehearsal is going to be more advantageous, but right now we don't have one. But the 2 eclipse events, I think, were critical in us being prepared for this event.
No, thank you. And you weren't there for those eclipse events? or
I
you
was
were? You were
there for both. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I got you. Thank you. Judge?
Bella Rubio, County Judge, Rial County. As I said earlier, our population is less than 3,000, and definitely a catastrophic flood would probably wipe Rial County off the state of Texas map. So our sheriff has quarterly meetings that he began, I don't know, about 4 years ago. We do have a volunteer emergency management coordinator that the sheriff and I had to work hard to talk into being a volunteer emergency management coordinator. However, he is not homegrown per se. He comes with a lot of experience and knowledge, as he was Fort Bend County, I think, firefighter for many years. However, he has no experience as to what 1 inch does on the Frio or Nueces, or 6 inches or 10 inches. And he was actually flooded in both times that we had our floods, July 4th and July 11th, because they came in the wee hours of the morning. But our sheriff is very due diligent in having quarterly meetings, not trainings per se, but we do meet with all the stakeholders, the volunteer fire departments, as well as TxDOT, DPS, Texas Game Wardens. We even have anyone that'll come from like AT&T, T-Mobile, which really AT&T is the only thing that works in Rial County if you don't have Wi-Fi availability. And then we also include the electrical companies as well. He invites as many of the stakeholders that would come or be impacted, whether it's flooding, fire, or a ice storm.
Thank you, Judge. And that's really what I was really wanting to get
Colonel
to.
Wilson. Colonel Wilson?
Yes, sir.
We've got a lot of members with more
Sure
questions.
do, and I'm about to wrap it up, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman. So that's what I was wanting to get at, is because, you can have a plan, but a plan is best laid when the right people are there at the table to work through it. Smaller counties, the resources there to do that isn't necessarily that you have hired, paid folks, that you have to rely on some volunteers and so forth. But at the same time, will the right people show up for your rehearsals? Because rehearsals are key on those tabletop events. And that is one thing that I think that we just need to make sure that we emphasize, that while best laid plans, if we can't get the right people, meeting them for the first time during an emergency is probably not the best time. You're grateful for it, but if you are basically there and you know them and you understand what the action plan is, then it's best. And you would probably suggest that, as a routine, be it regionally, because there are awfully small counties that can't afford much, that should probably be done regionally, and maybe something that should be addressed to be done, maybe not on a quarterly basis, but semi-annual or annual. Would you recommend that for other counties?
Bella Rubio, County Judge, Rial County. I definitely do, and I want to add that another part of the stakeholders that are invited are the superintendents and school board presidents of every school district in Rial County, which there's 3, along with all the camp directors, and also the lodging owners as well. They're all invited.
Shane Stolarczyk, Kendall County. I concur. We're very fortunate in Kendall County. We have a joint EOC with the city of Bernie, and everyone's very actively involved and takes this very seriously. So all the players that participated in the Eclipse events were the same players that were called up for this event. So we had 2 other instances where we worked together and ran through the motions on a disaster event. And so this was seamless when we called everyone to activation in this event.
I appreciate you sharing your best practices. Thank you.